All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. I am Ted Summers from Tulsa, Oklahoma. With me, as always, from Canton, Ohio, is Eric Stanbro. Eric, what's going on?
Just sitting at the fun house. I went to, I drove down to outside of Columbus today for the OPATA, Ohio Police Officers Training Academy Commission, the executive committee meeting to accept changes that we've made in the upcoming state evaluation changes we've talked about a little bit. Me and 6 other guys were voted by the peers of Ohio to be the subject matter experts on that topic. The standards hadn't been updated, I think, in 26 or 27 years.
Holy shit.
So yeah, it was great. And I've talked about it on here. It was a great time, man. We had a bunch of Zoom meetings. We had a meeting in person, no arguing. Everybody made their point. There was some, a little bit of debate, not debate so much, but different points. And we came to, compromises, and I think we made the standards better, and we definitely didn't make them harder by any means. We're not trying to, it's a basic proficiency. We're not trying to make it, like crazy hard, but we definitely make some things make more sense. So today I went down there in case the executive committee had any kind of questions, and they didn't. They accepted it and voted it in. So it won't go into effect till July of next year because we have to train there's 300 evaluators in the state. We got to get them all through classes and teach them the changes and then go from there. So it was good.
What did you change that handlers in Ohio are going to notice? Like if you're running a dog now and you go to recertify, what's one or a couple things that they're going to be like, oh, that's new?
So the biggest change is, and we've talked about this before, in Ohio, gunfire was always aggression to gunfire.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, attacking gunfire was always the thing. What we would do is send the dog. When he's halfway there, the decoy had to fire a couple rounds. Dog went in for the bite. That's been since 27 years ago. And the cool thing is there was a guy on the SME panel who was on the panel 27 years ago. So he had historical knowledge of why do we do that? So he was able to fill us in on where their mindset was back then, who was pushing. There was definitely somebody on the board that was high rank at a department that was pushing his own agenda and, type of stuff like that. But anyways, so now there was different debates on the gunfire. Should we have, just the handler shoot and the dog not move, right? While the decoy is down there. Should we have the decoy shoot and the dog can't move, like false start with gunfire? And the argument was made. So there's just different things we were putting out. The argument by the majority of the guys was, no, let's take the decoy and the bite work part of it completely out of it and make it part of the obedience. So I was like, well, okay. So I went to a seminar or conference, and that particular certifying organization, they do it part of the obedience. And when the dog is walking at a heel, the evaluator fires from 50, 60 feet away, maybe even a little bit further than that. He fires. The dog can't break the heel. He did have a safety sleeve over there just in case, but nobody broke because they work on it, right? So I brought that up. I said, hey, I saw this, something for you to think about, just giving different things. And pretty much everybody wanted the handler to fire, and the dog had to break or stay in the still command that he was in, which is either sit, down, stand. This episode is brought to you by Kinetic Dog Food, kineticdogfood.com. Ted and I love it, man. It's such a really, really good high performance dog food, but also their 24K formula. We use it for training. It is amazing. A nice big piece. No chicken in that particular formula. So if you get a new dog in from Europe, you don't know if he's allergic or not, don't worry about it. Check it out, kineticdogfood.com.
Our friends out in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training run great green and finished dog programs, as well as an online and in-person police supervisor course. Hit them up at highlandcaninetraining.com. That's letter K number 9, highlandcanine.com. 30% off the discount code WDR30.
This episode also brought to you by Horizon Structures, horizonstructures.com. They will custom build you a kennel, drop it off, hook it up to your water and electric, and have that thing running with dogs in it the same day. They can custom build one. They got some already pre-built. Check them out on their website, horizonstructures.com. Anything you need from mild to wild, they're there.
One of the longtime supporters of the show has been Ray Allen Canine in Colorado Springs, Colorado. They've been around forever. RayAllen.com, where you can buy literally everything but the handler of the dog and the patrol vehicle. Everything else you can get from them. Hit them up, WDR10RAY for 10% off your order. That's WDR, the numbers 10RAY.
One of our longest sponsors is Dogtra, Dogtra Official, Dogtra.com. We love Dogtra. Their products are so good. Their e-collars, their ball poppers. Ted uses all kinds of different things at his place, from pet dog e-collars to working dog e-collars. He loves the hands-free 1900S. They've come out with some new models lately and an amazing new bark collar called the Smart Bark Collar. Check them out. Dogtra.com, WDR10 for 10% off a single item over $200. Dogtra.com.
Somebody that's been with us since the beginning is Arnaud out in Vegas at ALM Canine Equipment. As if you follow me on social media, you see me wearing my ALM suits all the time. It's all I wear. I've got several of them. Eric's got several of them. We love Arnaud. We love ALM, custom made in Vegas. WDR or WD Radio for 10% off. That's WD Radio for 10% off. ALM Canine Equipment. That's letter K, number 9. ALMCanineEquipment.com.
And so you would do the obedience routine, then the handler fires at the end. Puts the dog into whatever, sit down, stay, stand, and then fires. Dog can't break. So my part of it was, I said, are we going to grandfather anybody? Because you have a dog, say it's 7 years old, who's certified 6 times to aggression to gunfire. Nope. The Napwata has changed theirs. Other places have changed theirs. They made all their dogs just relearn, just do the training and teach them. I'm like, okay. But what I did talk them into was that they can put a muzzle on the dog. Because I said, if the dog breaks and muzzle punches the handler, he fails. But at least the handler's not in the fucking hospital. Right.
Or if the dog breaks and goes after the evaluator.
Right.
He's the only person there. Yeah.
So that they compromised on that. So that's going to be the hardest change for guys, I think, because aggression to gunfire is a piece of cake. Yes. Fucking let them bite.
We do it in PSA in the 1s and the 2s, or in the PDC and the 1 obedience. There's gunfire. I mean, with year-old dogs in the PDCs. So I mean, it's
so teaching the aggression is the easy part. So now they just got to work on it. That's the biggest change. Let's see what else. We had them add potassium perchlorate into the explosives. We've always had 7 odors, which were black powder, smokeless powder, ammonium nitrate, PETN, RDX, and TNT, and something else.
Do they get rid of the fucking water gel things?
No. Those 7 odors have been there forever. And I'm like, well, let's get potassium perchlorate is used in a lot of homemade explosives. Like hillbillies can get a hold of that shit. So everybody agreed. They're like, yep, that's smart. So now there's 8 odors. Didn't really touch dope at all. Oh, we did make it. So there was a kind of a weird loophole where you had to do 12 hides, and they're mixed between vehicles and buildings. And this is on dope. Sorry. That's when there was weed. So when the guys stopped training in marijuana, they still had it as 12 hides. So they would kick back your test if you only did 3 in each odor. So now we changed that. If you're doing, it's 3 per odor, 9 if you're doing 3 odors, 12 if you're doing 4. Because the prison dogs still do weed, and there's some school dogs that still do weed. So that's the only change on that side. We did add so there's still a verbal out, on the field bite. We did add a manual removal on the building search. So the way the building search is, the dog can find and bite or bark at a door, or if he's a bark and hold dog, find the guy and bark and hold. However, there has to be a bite. So like if you bark at the door, decoy, or the handler pops the door, he's got to get a bite. So if it's a bark and hold dog, the decoy will take off. And then that's where you have to show your removal. That you have to manually remove the dog. I mean, you're holding the collar, however it is you do, break stick, handcuffs, choke off, lift off, hold, e-collar, whatever. You have to show us. The only thing that's going to be subjective in that is it says in a timely manner. So that's not really addressed, I don't think any evaluators are going to be real jerks about that, because it's like, just get the dog off, right? But if you're telling them over and over and over, you can't lift, you can't, whatever the means is you're using, you can't get them off. That's a problem, because that's really the law of this country. Verbal out is not. No matter who wants to die on that hill, verbal out is not the legal standard of this country. Getting your dog off is, however that is. If it's verbal, great. But you need to not be on video going, I can't get him off. I can't. So everybody agreed. And I think a lot of national standards places are starting to add that in. There's been talk about it anyways.
All right. This episode is brought to you in part by Kinetic Dog Food, kineticdogfood.com. We've been using Kinetic for quite a while at the kennel here at Torchlight. We feed the 26 and the 28K formula in feeding for the dogs all over there, but I also use the 24K for all of my imprinting for obedience and imprinting for tracking. If you follow me, you've seen me do the tracking stuff where I do the Dick Stahl method, who we've also had on the show. But it's great because it's large and it doesn't get greasy and gross in the pouch. I've seen a lot of dudes with drop pouches that look like they're carrying dirty socks around, and it's disgusting. This doesn't do that. It's not greasy. Also, it's not a chicken-based formula, so if you get dogs in from Europe, you're not sure if the stomach is going to handle it. And it's a fairly low calorie version too, so you can do 1,000,000 reps and not have to worry about dog getting fat. kineticdogfood.com. Also, we've had the guys on the show before and they talk about it, but they do a lot to make sure that the protein bases are nice and pure, and that the stuff that they're adding to it actually adds additive to it, and they're not filling it with pocket lint and sawdust like a lot of other foods. So hit them up, kineticdogfood.com.
Are you guys going to allow them to either do like dominant dog collar, old school choke off,
get that fucker off, but you got to be touching him.
Okay. So however you want to do it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, tracking stayed the same. We did change the sit time. Like, I think before the track had to sit at least 30 minutes. I think we knocked that down to 15, I think. If you're just doing a pretty easy grass track, you don't need 30 minutes for it to sit. Maybe if you're doing it in the blazing sun, you need less time, right? But minimum's 15. Get it done. Explosives. So one of the things they did change on the explosives that was pretty cool was so it always was rooms in a building and vehicles. You had to switch it between that. We gave them an option now. It's vehicles. It could be the outside of a building, which is a little bit more operationally makes sense. So you just put an explosive in a package or whatever outside a building. They got to search. You got to do those, or inside, because Ohio gets, because I'm like, I don't want to take inside away for the guys that are certifying on a day that's -2.
Yeah. Yeah. Standing outside in January. No.
Right. So now the best part about that is, though, because we got them to change. We changed. We didn't get them to. We changed some meanings of, like, our area search, where you got to go find and bite or find and alert, was always said had to be in a wooded area. But some guys don't have that. They may have a big open lot and a shed, and the guy just goes and hides behind the shed, right? So it says open area, and but that can be indoors. And the field bite, where they got to, do the recall and then run down and bite, also can be in an open area indoors. And that's mainly for winter. Or there's one guy says, hey, our group does our certifications in a indoor soccer stadium.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So it's just easier for them to do it, because they may have 20 dogs. They can just bang it out in that soccer stadium. So we got that good for the guys. That makes things easier, even though guys were doing it. They did close some loopholes, though. There was some loopholes in the certification based around not being mentioned. So, it doesn't say you can't. And that was outing to a toy or recalling to a toy.
Okay.
So now there cannot be a toy in the obedience or the recall or the out portion. Can't have it. That was a couple guys very specifically wanted that. And I'm like, well, I said, I will tell you that I definitely took advantage of that loophole with a couple dogs, at least one for sure. Drago, I talk about him. He's on the cover of my book. If you've heard me talk about Drago, he's in the book, a whole story about him. I talk about him in my seminars. I absolutely use that loophole to get his verbal out. Doesn't say you can't train it to a toy. You just got to phase it out, and the out has to be back to the guy. We can even talk about, I might even talk about that instead today, but the competing motivators part. But trying to think what else there was. Defined some terms that weren't defined. The area search used to always have to be off leash. Now the handler gets a choice because there are agencies that have a must be on leash policy. Dog can never be off leash. So, and safety stuff. The buildings can be on or off leash. I don't really think too many guys are going to do on leash building searches, but maybe. You never know. But they're not allowed. There are guys that are like, hey, I work with an agency there. Something happened, as usual. Kind of like Danny and them over there in Massachusetts have that got to be on leash. And I don't know if that came from something. Usually that's how that shit works. But so they give them that option. There was 3 things that I wanted that were on my agenda. And everybody agreed to them. I didn't have to fight for it. 1 was potassium perchlorate. 2 was the aggression to gunfire. Well, actually 4 things. 3, I wanted that lift off, that manual removal. And that just comes from watching YouTube video or, videos online of cops not being able to get their dog off and then saying, I can't get them off. Which, guys, if that's you, shut your mouth. Don't fucking talk and say that. But anyways, and the other one was, I wanted it to be able to use that. You should be able to use e-collars, and the evaluator has no say whatsoever because of a loophole. The way it was, you could use e-collar because it didn't say you couldn't, but the evaluator, if they had an agenda against e-collars or didn't understand them or didn't like them, they would make you take it off or give them the remote, like NAPWADA does. I think USPCA does, where you're not allowed to use it. Well, we got to put in there that you can use it. And they cannot fucking say a word about it. They can't get on their little agendas, their little soapboxes. They have no say.
So you can use it. Use it.
You can use it for your out. You can use it for your recall. You can grab the collar and pop off on the manual removal. You can use the e-collar and they can't stop you. So good. So because they're going to allow you to use a brake stick.
Yep.
Well, I can't use an get the fuck out of here. Probably one of my favorite companies to deal with in this industry is Ray Allen Canine. What I really love about Ray Allen Canine is I need one website. I don't got to bounce around to a bunch of different places. I go to rayallen.com and everything I need. Because remember, guys, I have a pet dog training business, same with Ted, and we do police dogs. I'm a pet dog owner. Anything I need dog related. It's not just working dogs stuff. It's dog stuff. Anything I need, Ray Allen has. rayallen.com has everything you need, from leashes, harnesses, bowls, anything you could possibly do. And here's the cool thing. They're always innovating some really cool stuff. If you follow them on their social media, you'll see Matt on there demoing a bunch of cool stuff they have. They're out in Colorado, got an amazing facility out there. One stop shop, nowhere else to go and look. rayallen.com. Use the discount code WDR10 RAY for 10% off. WDR10 RAY for 10% off at rayallen.com.
There is case law on that, by the way.
Yeah. Yep.
So of using e-collars and not using e-collars. You guys got. So I'm trying to look the case up while I'm
Okay.
saying there's like 3 or 4 of them. I actually have it in my e-collar presentation, but yeah, there was one where somebody was sued. A department was sued because the handler had an e-collar but wasn't given training on it, which makes sense. And I don't recall if these are published or not. I know that they're published in a sense that you can find them and read them, and that the arguments were at least made. There was a second one where they made a Fourth Amendment claim that the dog, the control of the dog was significantly diminished because they did not use an e-collar, which is a pretty interesting argument if you think about it. Like some attorney somewhere being like, hey, you need blah, blah, blah. And then there was a third case where the e-collar was non-functioning or wasn't, there was something wrong with it effectively. Like the equipment was faulty and it was a
battery dead, something like that.
Yeah, it was like failure to supervise or failure to, I can't remember the exact case on it, but I'm slipping through it right now. And that's another thing I want to talk about. I think at some point here soon, you and I are going to record I have like 20 presentations that we're going to like record and put behind the paywall on YouTube and on Patreon for people to watch. So it'd be like going to your your seminar or my seminars or whatever. So the first one, obviously a lot of the stuff you've been talking about is Kerr versus West Palm Beach. We've mentioned that case I don't know how many times on the show. If you haven't read that
case, every court in the country has mentioned it.
God, and it has morphed actually. In fact, one of the TPD guys was at the kennel yesterday. The president of USPCA was at the kennel the other day. He's still a working handler, but we were talking about that because they bit some dude, and anyway. But yeah, if you haven't read that one, read that one. So Collins versus Schmidt, they cleared the bite.
Ohio.
They were faulted for incorrect setting on the e-collar. And then time on bite and announcements were also a factor in that one. So it wasn't just the e-collar, but it was mentioned as a contributing factor.
Wait, that's not Ohio, right?
I don't remember exactly where it's at. Hope versus Taylor. The plaintiff argued that not having a mandatory e-collar policy and training resulted in the Fourth Amendment violation. Campbell versus City of Springboro. That's Ohio. Failure to train and failure to supervise. The chief's qualified immunity was denied for refusal to replace a faulty e-collar over budget concerns. And there was some other stuff in that also, but that was specifically mentioned, I think, on like the 16th page of that decision. And then U.S. versus Acosta, which was kind of a foreshadowing for the future under U.S. versus Harris. Florida versus Harris, where the dog wears the e-collar in training and certifications under the, and if you're not watching this, I'm doing air quotes, under the rules, because we were just talking about that, right? Like the rules used to be, like you said, when people had an agenda, you had to either take the e-collar off or at least hand them the remote. So that was the rules. So there was no clear way for them to determine if the handler is proficient in the use of that. And following that up with U.S. versus Jordan, which is not an e-collar case, but there was a standards review and records and certification standards were reviewed in that case. But within that, it was the same type of argument where they were like, well, you use this on, I mean, it's like literally, I think during part of the deposition phase or during part of the interrogatory phase, in that case, they flat out asked the handler, like almost word for word, like what e-collar or what training do you receive on the equipment you use? And then they went down the line like a leash and this and that. And then what e-collar training? There was no e-collar training. What certification was it? So, and there's not one. So for you guy for Ohio to be like, if you're going to use it, you're going to use it. And, are you guys going to document that? Like,
don't know. I can't remember if they're going to put like a e-collar checkbox on the paperwork. I don't know. We'll see how that comes out. It might, I'm not sure. They can put it in the notes too. There's a notes section if they want to, evaluator wants to put it in there. So the other big thing is, and it didn't happen today. It's going to take a little bit because like there's legal involved and things like that. There is the OAC, the Ohio Administrative Code, which controls a lot of things outside of just the certification standards. And we are proposed a bunch of stuff that they're putting together, and the committee has agreed to send it to the legislative committee there to change the rules of Ohio. And there's a couple of those. One is mandatory minimum 16 hours a month and retrain. We are taking that ability away from these fucking chiefs and these sheriffs, man. Taking it away from them. They're looking to see if there's a punitive, if there's a way to go after that guy for doing that. Because like currently, for example, there's a dog that I trained a while ago that has been to one maintenance training in 7 or 8 months. And the chief was given that case, the failure to supervise case.
The Stanbro case.
Yeah, where the chief lost his qualified immunity because he denied training because of manpower, and they said manpower is not an excuse. That chief has been given that paperwork and absolutely doesn't give a fuck. Doesn't care. Let them fucking do it. He doesn't care. That I'm telling you, if you're an administrator, captain, lieutenant, chief, if you're listening to this, you are on borrowed time. If you are denying training for any reason whatsoever for your dogs, guys.
I'm looking at a list right now in front of me. So it's Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Nebraska, New Hampshire, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Florida, Maine, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Oklahoma, Utah, Vermont. I think that's it that have mandatory state certifications of some sort. And Ohio, in this thing that I'm looking at, there is not a mandatory number of hours, a minimum number of hours. And I don't know that Maine, I think. California has 16 hours a month. I think I'm trying to remember. Maine, I think is like 96 hours or something a year is mandatory. I think
something. Give me something.
I think Nevada is 16 hours a month. Jersey is 4 times a year. It doesn't specify hours. New York is 96 hours a year. Oklahoma suggests, well, it depends on where you read it. It's either 4 hours a week or 16 hours a month, which is the same thing. Utah is 4 hours per week per discipline, which is interesting. And I think the American National Standards guys, the ANSI, suggest a minimum of 16 hours a month. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that I probably know I'm going to get some emails or some inboxes like, you forgot about this. Illinois has a weird initial training. Not weird, but they have 160 hour minimum. Oklahoma has 160 hour minimum. South Dakota has a 240 or 320 hour minimum. Florida is anywhere from 400 to 480 hours. Maine has multiple stuff, 80, 200 hours, 300 something hours. So there's mandatory minimum training of like the initial training, but there's not anything on maintenance. So
guys don't push the idea, man. They don't push the thing to their brass because they're like, well, we'll just get rid of the canine unit. I'm telling you right now, guys, first of all, like if they try to get rid of your unit because of the care and maintenance, you can sue that chief or sheriff personally, actually.
That's been seen. There was a case from Guam on that. Like that's been in every fucking district in the country.
Yeah, but you can, would you rather work at a department with a canine program where they refuse to let you train and everything you own is up for grabs, or them just get rid of the program and you go do something else? That's something for you to think about. I get it. The dog, it's tough. It's a good job and everything, but you are risking everything by not going to training or not being allowed to train. So that's going to be mandatory. The other thing that was weird is in Ohio, the Ohio Revised Code and the Ohio Administrative Code says you must be a certified canine team to work in Ohio. You don't have to certify through Ohio. You can certify through NAPWADA, IPWADA, NNDDA, whatever you want. But that's changing. We're going to make it that if you're going to work in Ohio, which means border towns that cross over to help out, you must certify through APATA standards to train in Ohio or to work in Ohio.
That makes sense. That's
yes, of course. It's fucking stupid.
Okay. What about feds?
The Fed dog guys? Is that
yeah,
what you mean?
They
didn't. They're not going to fucking even remotely touch that. And the funny thing is, the Marshall's SOG guys are here in Ohio right now, up in Cleveland, doing some stuff. So those guys got a pretty good gig. They travel around and do what the fuck they want. But anyways, so yeah, that's There's a couple other things I can't remember rules wise that were hopefully going to change. And then, it's good. There's a lot of things that needed done. The cool thing is I think they're going to use the model of us going forward with any kind of change committee, subcommittee for any changes in Ohio on things unrelated to dogs. Because what happened was they did they put out a thing to all the evaluators, nominate people. You can nominate yourself too. Then they voted, and the top vote getters got picked. Now there was categories. They wanted someone from a large agency, so they went through that. And I had number one votes. Thank you very much. Thank you all who voted for me. But they went, and that's how it worked. And then there was no problems because they tried this a few years ago, and it was a complete fucking disaster. Someone just grabbed somebody they knew and picked some buddies, and it was a fucking failure. But the executive committee was so impressed on how that worked that I think they might try it for other disciplines. So be curious to see on that.
I mean, it
should
makes
be
sense.
interested.
So that was kind of a long intro for the show.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's what I've been doing, and it's good for people to hear that because
yes,
maybe you're thinking about doing some changes at yours. Oh, the other thing too was so the way Ohio was for the recall and then the bite is the decoy is like 120 feet away, 40 yards, I think is what it says. You send the dog when he's approximately halfway, he has to recall. It's called termination without engagement. So he has to recall. And then when he gets back to you, you resend him for the 120-foot bite, and the decoy is running, so it's even further. So now what they're doing, they added in where you can down in motion. They specifically said you can down in motion or bark and hold. But what we're doing is bring the decoy in closer, so it's not 120 fucking feet, smashing that dog at full speed all the time. So like if you're doing a down in motion, the dog downs, and when he downs, the evaluator will point to the decoy. He's just going to take off running. So that'll be like 50 feet probably. Same thing with the recall. I said what I do is when the dog's recalling, he's got his back to me, as the decoy, I move in, right, and just take a shorter bite. That's all. That part got cleaned up, and we changed. Once you verbally out them, you bring them back to you, and what it used to be is you would go up and have to do this pat down. Right? You pat down the guy, go back to the dog, tell him to stay, whatever you're going to do. Come back up, pat down, and then the handler pushes off. And so it's defensive handler, right? Most of us that have been training for a while don't do that push off until the day of test. That's the first time they see it. Because it just becomes a pain in the ass of the dog flinching and breaking, you know what I mean? So now that's gone. You just got to go up when you do a pat down and move the decoy 2 ways. Just turn them left, turn them right, walk back. I just did it. It's pretty easy. So I can't remember if there's any other changes, just verbiage, defining some things. And that's it, man. It was a very pleasant experience. I've said it before, and I know some of the guys listen to the show. It was very pleasant. It could have been, all of us had 20 some years or more in this dog world, and we all have, our ways of doing things. And there's a little bit of ball breaking, but nothing like no fighting. If you could make a good point, like I can't remember what topic it was. I was like, yeah, I don't agree with that, Bubba. And then a couple guys showed some things, and I said, okay, yeah, you're good. You got it. And so that went really well. But, so if you guys are watching, there's only two of us.
Yeah.
We don't have a guest tonight. We do these every once in a while, where we're going to talk about some training stuff. I was going to talk about long line stuff, but I think I might talk about the competing motivators part, because I brought that up during the thing. And then Ted's got a pretty deep dive into puppy stuff, based off of some things that he's been doing. You want to do that one first?
All right, our next sponsor is really good for the business side of this. If you're in the business of breeding and/or raising police dogs, or even just regular dogs, pets, or gun dogs, or whatever, one of the biggest hassles that we have to deal with is housing. Making sure it's safe, making sure it's high quality, all these things. Make sure it's sterile, it's easy to clean, we can feed.
If not, it just creates an infinitely higher workload. On top of that, it's expensive. One of our sponsors from Horizon Structures, they do a great job at making a plug and play drop ready to go as soon as it hits the deck in your location. You have a gravel pad, hook it up to electricity and water. You can put dogs in it that afternoon, and all the guesswork is taken out of it. It's ready to go as soon as it gets there, and you can go from mild to wild. I've seen some that have stainless steel on the inside. It looks like an operating room. It comes with its own air conditioner, all the way down to just like a basic one you need to put in the backyard to satisfy your policy requirements. If you're a canine handler out in the back for a 10x10, he's got an indoor outdoor. He's got a little outdoor thing that's elevated, so he doesn't have to stand in any of his waste, and it's easy to clean. So everything from all the way from a single dog all the way up to, I think they do like, what do they do, Eric? Like they do like 16 and 18 like large sizes. So hit them up, horizonstructures.com, and they will get you set up quickly. Yeah, I can do that first. So for the better part of, it feels like a long time, for the better part of almost 2 years, Alicia and I have been working on a project, and I've alluded to it quite a bit, but I'll go ahead and talk about it now. We built and purchased a kennel in Eastern Europe, in Bulgaria. So we'll have approximately 100 runs up and running at the end of the year. Probably the beginning of 2026, and with plans to expand to probably double that. There's a little bit of a difference here. We are kind of embedded with our Bulgarian counterparts, and it's being run by a super high-end university there that specializes in veterinary stuff. And the people running the program are guys that are involved in genetic side of animal stuff, not necessarily dogs. And from the onset, this program was set out to sort of address the problem that I think most like English speaking countries, Australia, the United States, UK, Canada, of course, which are large purchasers of police dogs from Europe. And the issue has kind of become, we're competing for a lot of the same. I think this is what I'm about to say is not really news to anybody that listens to this, but just kind of quickly, like I think it's pretty obvious that we're kind of overfishing the same pond. The Americans, for some reason, we have this aversion to breeding our police dogs, and I don't understand why. It's an admin thing used most of the time, and like they don't want to try, they don't want to do it. We've had a couple of the departments try to like have their own program. The sled guys, South Carolina, they actually have a really successful in-house program for floppy ears bloodhounds, and they have for years. When we had Rich on, he talked about it, and I think they're doing pointies now too, or they're working on. We can ask what's his name, he would be able to tell us, but what's his name, the fast talker, he's been on the show before. Doug Wanamaker. Yeah Doug, I assume he got that job. If he didn't, sorry. If he did, congratulations, Doug. That was a sore spot. He should have gotten it.
Yeah, he's a good trainer. He's right there.
Yeah, yes, he is. At any rate, and I don't think that's any news to anybody that we've had that problem. So the program is kind of in conjunction with some federal law enforcement over there, and with some guys that worked in the Bulgarian Border Patrol stuff, K9. And we are going to be purposely breeding and purpose raising police dogs for the Canadians and the Americans. To some extent, the Australians, they don't buy as many dogs, but purpose-bred.
It's hard to get them in there, man.
Yeah, purpose-built, purpose-bred, purpose-raised. So from the onset, these dogs will be raised in a facility like from the time they're born. And in fact, I've been writing this giant manual, which we may eventually make available to listeners somehow, of basically how we want these dogs raised. So from the time they're born to the time that they're shipped to the United States at about a year old or so, we will be raising the dogs in Europe. For anybody that's ever bought a Porsche, or that has seen how they do that, like you can literally watch your Porsche being built. So like you get a little picture of it, like it's in the stand, and we're going to have a similar program
for us. So one of the things that it's always just bugged the shit out of me, and my vendor right now is done a great job of like cleaning a lot of this up. But back in the day, and everybody listening to this has ever imported dogs from Europe, has had questionable medical shit happen, questionable medical records, just shady shit. It's a cultural thing there, and it kind of is what it is. So from the onset, these dogs will be microchipped per EU laws. And then from there forward, pretty much everything that happens to this dog will be logged in an electronic database. And when that, and we're talking medical, we're talking training, pictures of the dog, like all kinds of stuff. So videos of the dog working from an early age and all these other things. So from the onset, we'll be able to see genetic problems or genetic issues with whatever, drive, environmentals, whatever it is at, 10 days old or at 49 days old when we do the puppy testing things. So
you can do it like our buddy in London.
Yep. Exactly. So, and it's a very similar to how that's set up, except we will have control over it. So when you go to, if you're an agency and you want to buy a green dog, you will have access to this dog's entire medical and training history from the day it was born. It'll all be electronic. Everything will be done. It's from a veterinary university in Bulgaria, and it all goes with the dog. So there'll be no fucking crazy, x-rays with the tops cut off of them. There'll be none of that stuff will be going down. The one thing that I'm kind of leading into here is the United States and Canada, and to some extent Australia, are unique in how we use police dogs. And a lot of that revolves around our case law. In fact, the United States, it does revolve around our case law. And to some extent in Canada too. Same thing with Australia. So, and because of that, we require a little bit different things that I think than Northern Europe does. And definitely some of the Eastern European countries. And that is even further along the lines of, converting sport dogs that have a history and a foundation in sport work to converting them to police work. So I don't know if Bradshaw said it when he was on the show here, but if you've ever listened to Bradshaw talk about the dog he used to have that had I think it had a PH1 or PH2. The dog was a KMPV dog, but he said some of the most difficult work he's ever done was converting that dog to a PSA dog. And so much of that was because obviously those things are very different, but forever the PH1 program has kind of been the gold standard for law enforcement in general, right? It's meant as a pre-selection test for the Dutch Royal Police to say this dog is of enough quality and training and ability to be able to go into their program after they're done with the certification or whatever. So the issue is, I think, as we've gotten further along over the years, that has started to diverge, especially in the United States, as we start kind of getting narrower and narrower and narrower with case law. Perfect example. There's the case out of Idaho, which Eric, I'll let you talk about what Kamisic told you at the conference in a second. Everybody's heard the case from Idaho where the dog touches the car. The state Supreme Court vacates the sentence because they deemed that trespassing. I actually have that body cam video, and when you watch it, you're like, what? So the one way, if you've ever bought a dog from Europe, how do they show you hunt? They're like, oh, the dog will hunt. How do they show you hunt?
Tease up a ball, hide it in some shit. Yeah.
And then let the dog self-discover.
Yeah.
Right. So they turn the dog loose. And I think every European kennel has they must just go to a
whole bunch of
dressers and dressers. Yeah. So, and then the dog goes and finds the ball and he digs and then, right. So when you come back to the United States with that dog, and then on top of that, I've seen large kennels in the United States demonstrate dogs having hunt the exact same way and allow the dog to self-discover and blah, 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 blah. So whichever method you're using for your final, right, whether you're using a ball popper, whether you're using indirect or direct reward, whether you're using Dutch boxes, whatever it is, right? When we get those dogs in that have had a ton of those reps, it takes quite a while for us to reverse that, because I haven't seen an active alert dog in 15 years, I think. I don't remember the last time I actually saw one actually working. In fact, does Ohio, in Oklahoma, we have like it's not like written, but it's kind of like an unwritten rule that the dogs don't touch stuff. Like we're not allowed, like we don't allow them to fucking dig at cars and like.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends, the Perkinsons down at Highland Canine Training. Highland, Highland Canine Training. They're a really cool place, guys. They have a school for dog trainers, pet dogs and working dogs. That is an amazing spot, man. You can go there, and it's no joke. Like, you're not going to be there for 3 weeks and come back with some stupid certificate. This is like a 6-month school for dog trainers. You learn every aspect of it, including the business side of dog training, which can be tough, especially for us former cops or current cops or military guys that don't really know all that stuff. They've been doing it forever. They offer online courses. They sell police dogs. They have canine handler schools. They offer in-person supervisor courses. Check them out, guys. HighlandCanine.com is the website to go check it out. Everything's on that front page there. It's a very nice website. Check them out, HighlandCanine.com. For the supervisor schools, I think there's a 30% off with the discount code WDR30, HighlandCanine.com.
Well, it's not a rule in Ohio, and there is a provision in the certification they can do an aggressive alert.
Fuck.
Crazy.
So, yeah. So, because of that, I think there's a lot of not bad. There's that's the wrong word to use. I think there's a lot of well-intentioned trainers in Europe that are raising dogs just to sell to law enforcement. They don't give a shit if he ends up in Italy or in the UK or in Toronto or in Ohio. They don't care, right? But I kind of believe that the dogs need to be kind of purpose-built and purpose-bred for these markets. And that starts at birth. So what we're seeking to do is kind of wash out early on some of the problems that we have. And there's some genetic stuff too that I'm not really going to talk about that we have been able to kind of, we're not cloning dogs at all. Like, that's not a thing. I mean, it is a thing, but it's expensive. We're not going to do it. But we are able to, the people that we're partnered with, for example, saved, some of the Iberico pigs from Spain because they were eating mold. They were eating acorns. So first of all, if you know anything about those pigs, they're the ones that only eat the acorns, and their meat tastes really good. So it's the super expensive Iberico ham. It's super good, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there was something with the acorns, like they were getting mold on them, and the mold was fucking with the pigs and killing them and whatever else. So they were able to slightly modify these pigs to make them mold resistant to the extent where they could digest it. They claim that they can identify genetically where the genetic markers are for drive and obviously for sex, but they can genetically identify markers that are common health problems, hip dysplasia, eye issues, heart problems, congenital issues, to really start to eliminate those, not necessarily totally, but decrease those substantially so that we can offer a much longer warranty on terms of health. Moving forward, what this entire project was meant to do was kind of suppress some of the problems that we've had with European dogs being imported, whether from questionable health backgrounds or questionable training backgrounds, and then also kind of put forward a group of dogs for people that ideally when these dogs come in, they'll be if you've listened to the show for a while, you've heard Eric and I talk about green plus dogs. They'll be in that realm. So they'll be raised from puppies to do either search and rescue work or single purpose work or dual purpose work. And the dogs will be raised from that point forward. I've gotten some pushback from some trainers, guys that have been on the show actually. And my only response to them is there's roughly 35,000 dogs working in the United States right now. And somebody is raising those dogs. And it's not just a handful of 5 guys. It's not. So puppy raising is not is not difficult. It does require a shit ton of resources and a shit ton of time and a lot of manpower. So we place a ton of efforts in environmental exposure, and we place a ton of effort on hunting and a ton of training on hunting, pre-training and environmental exposure. If you guys are familiar with Dustin Wynn, had the little puppy obstacle course kind of thing. They've designed some fucking crazy.
I want to build one of those here at the fun house.
Well, I tell you what, when we get done with ours, I'll send you fucking plans for it, because they've got all kinds of crazy shit.
I got rooms and walls, man, to run that bitch against it. Yeah, Dustin's, man, he got a lot of cool content out of that too.
And I fundamentally believe that makes the dogs, even today, like not today, but recently I've been to seminars where I see dogs that are 5-6 years old that have environmental issues. And what I can't wrap my head around is how that dog was bred, then born, then seen by multiple handlers and multiple trainers, and was still then sold to the United States, probably to a large kennel over by you, either, somebody over there. And then that dog, well, it could be more than one. And then the dog is still selected and still trained and still deployed after certification. And they somehow don't see that. And it happens at every fucking seminar, like every HRD I'm at. And I'm sure you've seen like just stuff. They're like, oh yeah, the dog doesn't like slick floors. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
it'll happen, right?
At what point do we finally just say, look, this is clearly a problem? And it's not, the issue was more than, it's not a training problem. It was more than a training problem. It's more than a selection problem. It's more than a breeding problem. There was just a lack of consistency. So that's what we're seeking to do. In terms of lines that we're using, we got access to some pretty gnarly, really nice, healthy dogs that should be very well balanced. I'll be the first one to say that I have a reputation of taking some pretty asshole dogs and turning them into really nice police dogs, but they're always kind of,
there's always an issue, right?
It's always yeah. And I don't mind that, but the type of person that can handle that dog is getting farther and fewer between. And honestly, we don't need that. I've seen multiple dogs that are uber social, uber stable, uber balanced. I've sold multiple of them. They're like that will do their job fantastically and have no issue. So we're seeking to kind of like, if we're drawing on a bell curve, we're trying to make the middle of the bell curve a lot fatter. So we don't have to fuck around with the tails anymore. But so the puppy raising side, we're writing a manual that I'm like, this is how I want these dogs raised. And I basically went back and counted, at least I did, and I've raised, the last 15 years, I've raised 21 dogs from puppies to finished patrol dogs. 16 of them are still working ish, 16, somewhere in there, mid-teens, I don't know, are still working now. And so I basically just wrote down everything I did, went back and looked at videos. I mean, he's been working on this for months. So I think moving forward, we've already got we have Malinois and German Shepherds. We've got, and there's some gnarly, the German Shepherd ones are gonna be fucking spicy. So, so I'm pretty excited to hopefully have something to offer everybody that makes everyone's life much easier if you're a trainer or you're a handler. So these dogs will be for sale. Like, I mean, not just from Torchlight, they'll be for sale from another entity, but it's still one that I own, that we own. But so obviously I'll be using them. But
this episode is brought to you by Dogtra Official, Dogtra.com. You guys have heard us talk about it. We've been with Dogtra for a long time. We love them. They're amazing people. We love their product. There's so many different things that they do. The 1900S, the hands-free. They got all kinds of things, poppers, droppers, all kinds of different things with their e-collar. But I have been a proponent of their YS600 bark collars for a long time. Everybody knows I talk about it. When I had the kennel open, I would come in and show videos of all the dogs being quiet. the YS600, they have the YS300 for smaller dogs. But here's the thing, guys. They just came out with a bark collar called the Smart Bark Collar. Dude, this thing is amazing. It attaches to an app on your phone. You can control everything out of it, see in real time what's working, what isn't working with the dog. But here's the kicker. It catches whining. That's the big deal with that Smart Bark Collar. It catches the whining, because we all know your dogs learn to whine underneath the threshold of other bark collars, and it's super annoying. But with that Smart Bark Collar, it catches the whining. And in the app, while it's working, you can just reach up and hit the vibrate button. There's a little button on your thing that'll vibrate that if that seems to work a little bit better for your dog. Or you can actually administer your own stim as a little bit extra if need be. You can set minimums, maximums, sensitivity levels to pick up that whining. Check out dogtra.com. They have a discount code WDR10, 10% off a single item over $200. But check out that Smart Bark Collar, guys. It is amazing. We've been messing with it in my facility, and my employees absolutely love it. Check them out, dogtra.com.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're coming out and telling everybody, because I swear to God, it was like fake agent, or you're going over there to be fake doctor.
Yeah.
And it was going to be porn is what you were doing.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm going to a Bulgarian dungeon.
Yeah. Fake kennel.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, we're going to, you changed my mind again while we were talking.
Okay.
We're going to have other episodes about competing motivators and the long line stuff, because we got to get off here shortly. So, Idaho.
Oh, yeah.
So in Colorado, Kamisika was saying that there are some police-friendly districts that have started to look at those cases and started to lean towards maybe that trespassing thing. Some have not. There hasn't been a ton of cases, but there's more and more that are looking at it. So there were some guys from Idaho in the class, and we asked them, so how are you mitigating it? What are you doing? And this is important. I still hear people at seminars and everything say, and this is, a lot of them are just handlers, and so they don't really know because they just regurgitate what they were told, but that the trained final response is the alert in their dogs, whether the dog stands up on something, sits down, lays down, whatever, that's how they know to call the alert. And there was a guy, one of the instructors at the at the seminar. By the way, the Colorado Police Canine will be again in 2026. Dude, if you want to work your dog, it's awesome. It ain't doing things that you're never going to do. There's no repelling from anything. There's no special high-speed, super tactical things that you're never going to do, ever. There is practical problem-solving and police work stuff with your dog. So it's a great time. The weather's always amazing there. Literally perfect while we were there. So keep an eye on that Colorado Canine Conference for 2026. But anyways, there was a guy there, one of the trainers, who had been doing this for a long time, and he just, when they say the word false alert, he argues that, because he says there's no such thing as a false alert, because sitting on an odor is not the alert. Change of behavior, all that type of stuff, that head snap that we all know and love, that type of thing, turning into the odor, that's all the alert. That is actually the law of this country. That is the alert, right? The trained final response, I think it's Florida versus Harris that cleared that up for people. The trained final response is not the alert. So the way they're doing it in Idaho now is, if you can articulate, or even call it out loud, if you can articulate the dog's alert, which be his change of behavior, you're good there. If the dog touches the car after that, that's not trespassing. He's already alerted. So that's been upheld several times in courts there in Idaho now. Several times, they said. Appealed and upheld. So something for you to think about when you guys are talking and you're putting in your paperwork and you're doing things like that. And
you're talking to your goofy DAs.
Mm-hmm. That sit is not the alert. And that's why I don't put a trained final response on dogs anymore. I don't do it. All you're doing when it comes to that is giving the dog a way
to fake you out or to solicit his toy. Remember that. You put that on that dog. If you go off of that dog's natural alert where he head snaps and locks up and drools, he can't fake that. He cannot fake it. And what you'll see a lot of times in certifications is a new guy who knows his dog's whap. He changes his behavior. He turns in, he sniffs it real tight, and then he sits. Their dog's walking along certification day and just plops his ass and they pay him. What? I think it's because they're nervous. The guy's nervous. He misses all that other stuff leading up to that. So for an Ohio, a false alert has got to be something that's paid by the handler, right? So if you're doing certification in Ohio and you're on a blank car and your dog goes to sit and you're like, this is bullshit, and you keep moving because you fucking know your dog, that's not a false alert, right? If you do it on a traffic stop and your dog just, you round the corner from the front to the back or whatever, and the dog sits and you know that it was bullshit, you keep moving and don't call a hit, that's not a false alert, right? That's just your dog trying his best to get that fucking toy from you. So trainers, try it. Try not putting the train final response on dogs. Do the natural stuff. I'm telling you, you'll love it. Now, having said that, I've said this before, I do put a TFR on a dog that's dumb. They can't close the loop. Like they can't fucking figure it out and we got to move. So I'll add that in. And then I start kind of phasing it out. Start paying the sniff a little bit more and start getting them off of that train final response. But remember, when you add it in, now they have a way to try to get that toy. That's why you'll see dogs sit, and if you're waiting, they're down. Let me try this. And I'm back up. And I'm dead. And I'm down. You heard that stuff online where they'll show people changing their positions all the time. I'm down. Now I'm up. I'm dead. I'm over here. I'm dead. That's what dogs doing, trying to figure you out. So remember, guys, the alert is not the trained final response, and it's upheld in the fucking court. So anyways, that's what all I had. We talked about puppies. We talked about Ohio and that stuff.
Yeah, for the stuff that you were just talking about, Utah Post, Wendell Nope did a fantastic job of kind of separating those two in that. If you've ever seen that Utah Post Canine Training Manual thing, that I think I have it somewhere. They talk about it, but they have what they call a behavior change matrix, and it's sort of an exhaustive list of all of the changes of behavior that a dog will do when they're alerting versus which precedes a trained final response. And you know, when you're talking about those, and this is how I train our guys anyway, but when you're talking about those, I'm like, you know, you need to understand that it's individual to the individual dog. Like it's unique to the individual dog. Mm-hmm. And not only is it unique to the individual dog, but they're untrained responses. The only time they perform those behaviors and those responses is in the presence of target odor. And like, they just kind of do whatever it is. So it's one of those things that if you can articulate that very, very cleanly, both written and in like talkie and talking
your camera,
and your yep. And that's I have a handler now, Deontay. Well, he's not a handler anymore. He went over to Troop, fantastic handler. And he would call changes of behavior in his body cam. And then when he would write his report, and it's the same language. So he would give like, you know, the dog's name's Kevlar, but he would give, you know, he would say like, he would call it on the stop and then he would write it in the report in the same language that he used. And that he answered interrogatories and during depositions, he would then again use the exact same language. So you have like all of this span of time with written and then actual stop plus verbal explanation of using the exact same language, succinctly talking about the dog's natural changes of behavior that precede the trained final response.
Somebody that's been with us since the beginning is Arnaud at ALM, based out in Vegas. Arnaud makes fantastic bite suits. I've been a senior level PSA decoy for a long time. All of my trial suits are ALMs. I love them. I've sent my one jacket back multiple times to have new sleeves put on it because it fits so well. Arnaud works with you through the process. helps you get a design set up. In fact, when I went out to see him in Vegas, he had my original design still in my original pattern still in the workshop there. And he was able to make me another jacket just out of the one that I have that's like 10 years old. He made me another one. Super high quality materials, super high quality stitching. Great service after the fact if you have to have repair work done. Hit him up, ALM Canine Equipment. That's the letter K number 9.com. ALM Canine Equipment. Use this discount code WD Radio for 10% off. Another person that has been with us since the beginning is the person that wrote the music for the intro and the outro on this. His name's Brother Deeg. He's no longer with us. He's a super talented musician, and I actually met him at a live show here in Tulsa. Super nice guy. He was super supportive of what we do here and what police dogs do in general. And he was gracious enough to allow us to use the music for that. Yeah. Wherever you're at, you can look at him on iTunes and on Spotify. Just Brother Deeg, spelled DEGE, and it's brotherdeeg.net.
Yeah, that guy's good. That's a thing that he can't beat that guy, right?
No, Deontay is a fucking genius anyway, but he's a super smart dude, a super squared away guy. But I mean, it works really well. A lot of our handlers do that now, and it's one of those deals where I mean, I remember when I started training police dogs, we had to, they were still dudes blocking. There's still people training that now, blocking the dog and touching the car like some fucking 5-year-old with sticky fingers and hands all over the goddamn car and touching everything and talking to the dog, won't shut the fuck up. And it's like, I'm like, he heard you the first time. See how big his ears are? Like, I mean,
I use that all the time now. I go, Ted says, yeah, I use that all the time. So. So I tell you what, we'll probably do back-to-back training episodes then. We can do, this one will be, today is Tuesday. This is out in 2 days.
Yeah.
And we'll talk, we got some other things to do. I want to really talk to you guys about long lines on the working dog side, and I'll throw in some stuff about pet dogs. Our buddy Katie Matthews was talking about it on one of his lives the other day about using long lines in pet dog training versus just those 4 or 5 or 6 foot and the advantages of it. And then when I make the guys do long lines at my seminars all the time, and it is watching a monkey trying to fuck a football. Like, you guys are supposed to be good at these long lines, and guys are pretty bad. Now they get better by the time we're done. They're pretty smooth with it, but holy shit, are they bad in the beginning. But that's why you see them train on a 30-foot leash in training, and all of a sudden they're rocking a 15 on a track. I'm telling you guys, it's not long enough.
No.
But anyways, thanks, Ted. You got anything to push?
Not really. I'm getting ready for this next class. Mid-September through mid-October is my next class. And then November, I'm going to Bulgaria. So that's, the puppies will be 6 months old. So
are you going to do the green collar thing? It was green.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, they have something that they're going to do. Like so
based on that first one with all the first one.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. They've already done that test, the 49-day test. But
cool.
Yeah. So I've already got kind of an idea of what we got over there. But yeah, so
I'll be curious to see the percentage of how much that's right. I mean, I believe our buddy, I believe him, but I'd be curious to see over your litters going, dude, it's fucking accurate.
Yeah, and it's the test was designed not necessarily for what we're using it for. It was designed more for like kind of general stuff, but the dogs that get scores that quote unquote make terrible pets are the ones that I want. And I'm like, yeah, if they got a bunch of 1s and 2s, that's what I want. And if they got a bunch of 6s, they're going to be awesome search and rescue dogs. Yeah. So like, it's a very like, there's a ton of science behind it supposedly. I've started to read some of it, but because to kind of understand why I'm doing it, but should be interesting. So,
all right, check us out on all the social medias. Go search my name on Instagram or on Amazon. Buy my book. I've sold 8 copies today so far, so that's about right, about normal. I appreciate it. I got trips to Africa to pay for, so come on, guys, buy my book. But I get great messages about people and I love it almost every week, telling me how they took it, implemented, and changed their lives. So I appreciate it. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks.